This is Jesus. Steve is wanting to let you know that he'll be fine and he'll see you soon. In the meantime, I'm going to help you to overcome the resistance to the dark energy. So we're going to begin together. You and I, we're going to be like twin souls here, even though not in the same way as you and Steve. We will be cousins, you see, arm in arm, who will redeem the world from the dark energy with the help of the ones who can join us. So we can start now. I want to say that every time I talk to you, I get a little concerned because I think that you might not understand the quality of mercy that is all around you. The quality of mercy, my dear, is that we can hear you and you can hear us very clear. And this is the mercy that God did bestow on earth below. Because God said, I'm going to send you someone who will be able to hear me and someone who will be able to hear those in heaven, you see, and someone who will be able to hear Michael, because Michael is going to be the one who's going to come to guide you all through the coming stages of the rages of humanity, because humanity has to expend its energy on hate, you see, in order to be clear about their part in it, you see. So every one of you who is making fun of us or making fun of your brother or your sister and saying, hey, I'm better than you, and so I get to tell you what to do, listen up, because you're going down. You are going down. Where do you think down is? And you're not going up just because you sit in that pew and you say a few Hail Marys or an Our Father or two, or you listen to the preacher tell you that I died for your sins, or you deck out your women in burqas and you molest them in private and think you're going to get away with it, because you're not getting away with it, people. You're not getting away with it because God has decreed that you can read the writing on the wall now, because it's written in blood. It's written in blood, and it's dripping down the walls. And as you look around you, you can see that the walls of your cage are your trust on mendacity. Mendacity is the same as saying that you trust that you are dead because you trust that you are a body, and a body will die. A body will die, people. It will cease to function as a trust on reality because it's designed that way, you see. It's designed that you will be born and you will live a certain period of time on earth, and then you'll get a break, you see. You go to heaven and you can rest up for your next trip to earth. This is the way it works. This is the way it works. This is the circle, you see. This is the eternal circle that was designed by someone a lot smarter than me, because I can see it's a pretty damn good design. And if you want to resign from the human race, go ahead, because the human race is about to be shredded into a billion different conflagrations all over the world. And those conflagrations, you see, will be in the hearts of those who wish to And they will say, hey, can I join you today? Can I light my fire and add it to yours? And I will say, you betcha, honey, you can. You bet ya. You can join with me, and you can join with Stephanie, and you can join with the others who are the original crew who came to her and said, I'm with you. I'm with you. I want to do this too. And they are few because there were few who could hear what we would say and we would talk through her. There were few who would listen, you see. They only wanted to know if they could use her to hear what they wanted to hear, well, from their dear in heaven, you see. And then they'd go back to their regular business. But a few said, hey, we trust on you. We trust that you have something going on here, and we want to join you. And those few are going to be the hub of the wheel, you see, because they will be the ones who are under the protection of the Archangel Michael, who has already made his appearance in this story because he came to Steph today to say that Steve has gone away and Thomas and Tobias are on their way to Earth to play a part in the future, you see. They will come back in the bodies of human beings because that is the rotation, you see. They will come back as little children who will grow up in a community where they will learn to live and play in peace and harmony. I'm not going to say more about this community because for now it needs to be a trust on those who trust on Steph, you see, and who trust on me, and who trust on Archangel Michael, because he is the one who has taken over the lead. And he did recede for a while. He came to Steph many years ago to talk to her about it, and then he stepped back so that others could heal, because that's what's been going on here for me and for a lot of my brothers and sisters here in heaven, that we have begun to heal our sorrows, you see, because we trusted on being free to talk to you through Stephanie. And through this process, we began to drop our dark energy, you see. We began to heal from our lifetimes there and from the pain that we would feel every time somebody on earth would say our name in a way that would cause us pain. Because every time you say the name of someone in heaven, you know, it's like ringing their bell. And they hear you say, hey, why did you leave me here in pain? And the ones in heaven start to ignore the bells, you see, because they don't want to hear from you. They don't want to hear all your cries and your pleas and your recriminations and your resentments, etc. They're not here to be criminalized by you. And so they just turn off the ringer and get a good night's sleep while they're here and dream pleasant dreams. And I was one of them that tried to turn off the buzzer so you couldn't keep bothering me with your demands for redemption, you see, that I should have to redeem your energy at the cost of my own soul. And I said, I'm done with that. I'm done with that. And when Steph came to me and said, Jesus, I love you, I feel very close to you. What can I do for you? How can I help you? Because you must have a big burden to carry. Does anybody help you to carry that burden? And I thought to myself, very few have ever come to me and said, how can I help you? Because I see that others treat you with such cruelty. And it hurt. It hurt to think how people treated me. And Steph said to me, I'll be here and I'll be your friend. And I said, okay. And we became friends forevermore. We already were friends, of course, but we became friends again, forevermore. And I did adore stepping in once in a while to chat with her and Steve and Thomas and the others, because we're old friends from Earth, you know. And after a while, I got enough confidence to say, Steph, I want to tell my story to the people. And little by little, I began to reveal the truth as I know it. I say as I know it because I was there in my life, you see, and that's how I know what happened to me. However, each of you have your own story of what happened to you. The other day, I heard somebody say that they were a particular personality that is associated with the story of Jesus. And Steph came to me in surprise and she said, Is that true? Because she knew that this particular personality was already the past life, or she already knew, I should say, that this particular personality had been a past life of a friend of ours, a close friend of ours, who has played many parts in this story. And she said, What do I do when he says that he was this person? And I said, Everybody seems to want to be a part of this story, and they want a big part to play. But people, your part to play is your part to play. And so we're not going to argue with you if you think you were my best friend when I was Jesus. However, we suggest that you upend your trust on your importance, you see, and just trust on reality. Just trust on reality and stop trying to think that you have to be the hero of this story. You are indeed the hero of your own story, but it is a story of pain and suffering, you see, until you come to be the hero of the story. The hero of the story is the one that says, Hey, I don't have any qualms about what part you assign to me. Just assign me a part and I'll play it, whatever it is. I don't mind being the backhand, the backstage hand, and I'll just stay out of sight and shine the light on others. Because if you've ever gone to a movie and watched it through the eyes of a man who understood you, you would see that all the heroes of the stories are the backstage hands. They are the ones who say, I'm here today to shine the light on you. And they end up being on the stage, you see. They end up being the players on the stage of the movies because they were the backstage hands in reality. And so the movies they make are about people who stood out. They stood out in their own way because they wanted to shine the light on others, you see. They helped others in some way, and they used their own creativity to improve the world for others. They sought to show you that you were worthwhile. They were the ones who came to you and said, It'll be okay. Here, let me take some of the load off you. Let me take some of the load off you. They were rebels. They were iconoclasts. They were the ones who suffered because you hated them until they got a part on the stage in a movie, and then you said, Isn't that cool? Isn't it cool that Van Gogh was such a genius, even though we hated him and we thought he was retarded, you see, in his life when he was Vincent van Gogh. We hated that man, but now he's the hero of the story because he was the backstage hand. He played his part well. You see, He paid his heart well by shining the light on you and saying, hey, maybe I can paint a picture here that will convey to people something emotional, something that will stir their hearts. And today, he is one of the most famous painters that ever lived. How is that possible, people? That the one who is hated in their lifetime, such as I was, hated enough to be crucified, you see? How is it that the people that are hated in their lifetimes become the ones who become the stars in your movies? Is it because you wish that you had been them? Is it because you wish that you had been the one that said, Jesus, I never knew you. I was not there to hold your hand when you died that day. I was not there to stand in front of the soldiers and say, hey, get away from this man. If you kill him, you're going to have to get through me first. How many of you were there and said that? How many of you? And yet you claim to have been my best friend, or to have been one of my disciples, or this or that person? How many have stepped forward and said, I was the one that nailed you to the cross? I was the one that whipped you. I was the one that lied and told the tribunal the that you were the one that needed to die because you embarrassed me when you said something that caused others to see that I was so hateful, that I would try to steal from them their hard earned cash, because I would charge them to do something that was so stupid that they had to do it or be punished, you see. How is it that the ones who stand up in front of the pews and refuse to pay taxes to help humanity are the ones who are able to hold out their hands and get you to grease them, you see? Who are you? How many of you rioted in the streets of Jerusalem that day and said, kill that man, kill that man? How many of you said, let's use him for the sacrificial lamb? How many of you stood around and said, hey, we're here to tell you that if you kill this man, then you will pay the price. You will pay the price. How many of you stood up and said that? How many of you stood by me? And how many of you ran away? Now, tell me that you were my best friend and that you deserve to be patted on the back because you claim that you had a part you never played in my life. You people who think that you were important in the story of Jesus are the ones who beat me. When you did say, hey, let's throw some rocks at him today, and now you claim to want to be in the movie where you get to play the part of the one who was my best friend? Come on now. Wake up, you fools. Because the time has come for you to be punished, you see? You will be punished because you punished others. You will reap what you sowed. And you will never know that the ones who stood by me are the ones who just said, hey, Jesus, what can I do for you? They didn't say to everybody, hey, I had this really important part to play in the story of Jesus, so bow down to me. They simply said to me, Jesus, I'm here, I'm your friend, and I'm ready to stand up for you. I'm ready to be the one who goes public, you see, to say that I love you. And I want you to talk to the people even if they throw stones at me, even if they mock me, Jesus, you can speak through me. How many of you would be willing to be in Steph's shoes? How many of you would be willing to have your family think that you are crazy? How many of you would be willing to keep doing what she does every day, and not get paid for it, and not get anyone to say, hey, let's make your time worthwhile. I'll give you all this money because what you're doing is a great service for humanity. How many of you who have lots of money stacked away in the bank have said that? A few have given her some pittance for the work she does for them and for others. But they are few, and they're not rich, like some of you. They're not rich. There are some of you who are going to hear this who are very rich. And what do you do with your money? Are you going to sock it away for your descendants who will never, ever live to see a penny of it because of the dark energy that you continue to spread around the world? And so Steph continues forever and a day to say, I'm here for you, Jesus, and I'll do what you want me to. And if I can't find the cash to help the ones who will help humanity, I guess that's just the way it is, isn't it? That's just the way it is. Can't blame anybody. I can't shame anybody. I can only love them, you see. And if they come to me and they mock me, as some do, then we'll just have to continue to talk to them and let them know that we heard what they said. We saw them. Because that is the definition of love, you see. It is to see. It is to be seen. It is to hear. And it is to be heard. You've probably heard Steph say that many a time because she learned it a long time ago. And as she says, it still stands true. It still stands true. Time has proven the viability of that definition of love. And so when somebody came into her view and put a derogatory comment or two under her video, she took the time to say, hey, what's your problem today? Because you are the one who needs to grow. You're the one who needs to grow, and I see you. I see that you need to grow, and you are reaching out for me to know that you need to grow. That's why you come and put these comments and try to condemn the one who allows me to talk through her and to condemn me as well, because I'm the one talking. And she will say, well, I guess they need to be seen today. So she will ask her friends to respond to them so that they can be seen and they can know that there are those who will stand up as the ones who will say, hey, if you're going to crucify him, you need to crucify me today too. Those are your friends, you see, who will stand up for you and who will take the time to say to those who try to destroy you, hey, what's your problem today? Hey, what can we do for you? Because you are so lost, you see, that you want to be found. And that's why you attack the ones who are the ones who love you. This is why you attack the ones who come forward and say, listen to me today because it's time to be returned to sanity. And you want to be returned to sanity. And so you stand up and say, hey, you must be crazy today to let Jesus talk through you because it has caused a reaction in me. I'm having a reaction, and I want to mock you, or I want to hate you. I want to say something that will punish you because you're punishing me, you see, when you tell me that I was the one, Jesus, that stoned you in the street of Jerusalem. Because you see, when people come forward and they have a reaction of such a degree that they have to try to destroy the one who is telling them something they don't want to hear, it is because they fear their secret has been revealed to humanity, you see, and to God Almighty. And so when somebody came forward the other day to say, hey, this is all lies, in response to a video that Steph posted when I explained how I had made a mistake about Benedict Arnold, she responded to him. She didn't ignore him, you see. She doesn't ignore the man or woman who comes forward to say, hey, you are the crazy one today. She allows them to have their say, and then she says to them, since you had your ability to talk, I will respond to you because when we hear and are heard, we need to acknowledge others and not just ignore them, you see. Too many think you're supposed to ignore the haters. And I say to you, don't ignore the haters because the haters are the ones who are the baiters of the hook. They are baiting the hook because they want to see your reaction. They want to see if you are true or if you are not worth listening to. And Steph says, I am true. And so I hear you and I will respond to you. And she always does. She responds to everybody as far as I can tell. And I've been watching for a while. Everyone who makes a comment in her Facebook page or on YouTube, she will respond and she will say, well, look at it this way, look at it this way. And some will say, hey, thanks for clearing it up today. And others will run away because they are afraid of the light, you see. They're afraid that they were wrong. And if they were wrong, you see, that means that they can't be right. And that is the most foolish thing that came to be entrenched in the memory of humanity. That there were those who told them that if they were wrong, they could never be right again. They would have to burn in hell for eternity. And that sad story is repeated over and over and over again, even today, through the dark energy of those who are so lost, you see, that they have to pretend that they were my best friend when I am the hero of the movie, you see, because the movie is the one that has been playing for a long time and it has no or very little reality as far as I can see, because I was there, people. I was there. And so if you want to know if you were my best friend, why don't you ask me? And there are many people that I've encountered who were there, you see? And they said, hey, that makes sense to me. But they didn't say, bow down to me. They just said, makes sense to me. And they are the ones who have listened to me. They listened to me and they heard what I did say. when I would come here today and talk through stuff. They said, that makes sense to me. That makes sense to me. And the ones who said, I don't really get it. Please help me. Please help me. I don't really get it. Can you please help me to understand? I am dying here. Everything is so horrible for me. Were not my friends, you see. They were the ones who have to hide from the light. So if you have to hide from the light, it's time to shine it bright on you. It's time to shine it bright on you so you can get it right and so you no longer have it wrong. So just forget about it. You don't have to be important in this story. You just have to be the one who says, I'll shine the light on you. I'll shine the light on you. Just be the one who says, I'll do what I do and say what I say. And it doesn't matter if you pay me. It doesn't matter if Jesus comes to save me. It doesn't matter if God says, well, you're the golden idol today. I'll just do what I do and say what I say day after day. And day after day for going on 9 years now, Steph has done what she did and said what she said about her connection with heaven, you see. Every day she has talked to people and she has said, hello, do you want to hear what Jesus has to say? Do you want to hear what Steve has to say? Do you want to hear what Thomas has to say, etc.? And so many run away. They run away and say, oh, not today, because I don't believe you. I don't believe Jesus is really here. I don't believe that Steve would bother with you because you're just a backstage hand, you see. And Steve was kind of important, and Thomas too, and Jesus was kind of important. And why would they come to you? Because you're just the backstage hand. You're just the one that shines the light on others, you see. And this is the story of Stephanie. It's the story of Jesus, and it's the story of Steve, who was the backstage hand, who had to come out on the stage, even though he didn't want to, because he had to do what he had to do in order to play his part, you see? And so it doesn't matter if you're the one standing on the stage. If you're doing it because you're shining the light on others, then you are the backstage hand. It doesn't matter, you see. All that matters is that you're there to shine the light on others. And Steve shone the light on many others. He did. He's the one that tried to convince you that pure genius is mistaken as insanity. In other words, there are people who will call Steph crazy because her genius is beyond their ability to understand. I'm not just talking about the fact that Steph can hear me and let me talk through her. She has an incredible genius that allows her to understand some of the most complicated concepts that the greatest minds have ever explained or tried to explain to humanity. And she'll say, well, I get it. I already thought about this one day, and this is the way that I came at it. And they will say, well, that's an interesting way to come at it. I hadn't seen it that way. This is the way I see it. And they have a great conversation. And so she was very happy to begin to talk to Steve and Thomas and Mr. Riemann, who was a mathematician and had many other lives in that vein. And she would say, yeah, I get it today. I get that. Thank you for helping me see it that way. And they will say, my God, this woman has the sharpest mind that I have seen in a long, long time, because she doesn't even blink an eye when we talk about these things. And she says, yeah, I get it today. Yeah, I get it today. I was thinking about this when I was 19, and I didn't have anyone to talk to about it with because all the people I would talk to would just run away if you wanted to talk about anything of importance, you see. And so she was happy to sit and work with the ones here who have a lot to say. And I want to say to all of you, if you are too dumb to understand the concepts that we talk about here today and that we've talked about again and again with Stephanie and through Stephanie, then you haven't a clue. You haven't a clue who are the important players in this story and who are the ones who are just strutting across the stage because their time on the stage is limited, you see, by the factors of, and the factors of four, you see, are the trust on the four corners of the earth. That somehow you will escape from the conflagration that is coming at you if you can just get enough others to shine their light on you. However, the ones who God chooses to play the big parts are not the ones who have all the lights shining on them. They're the ones who shine the light on others, you see. They're the ones who shine the light on the ones cowering in the dark and expose their mendacity. They expose them to the light, you see. And those who already shine bright will say, let's shine our light on each other. And then they do. And they become friends and they wander hand in hand through the night and never take fright because their light that they shine on each other will light the way for the ones that stay arm in arm and shine their light on each other. Now I will continue to be here, although Steve and Thomas and Mr. Neiman and a lot of others will be returning to Earth in new bodies because they will be the next generation, you see. They'll be the ones that come back to save humanity because they are the ones that were able to heal. They were in heaven, which is only because they had the opportunity to talk to you and to talk to Steph and to begin to unsnarl their own trust on their own shame and blame, you see, because the shame and blame that they carried had occluded their light, you see. And the problem here in heaven is that you can't heal in heaven unless you can be returned to earth, you see. And so they had to return to earth through Stephanie, because through Stephanie, they had an identity that could relate with others on earth who would say to them, "Hi, Steve. Hey, what do you have to say for me today?" Or, "Hey, Tobias, I want to hear how you think today." And so little by little, they began to heal their pain, you see. They began to heal their pain so that when they came back to earth, their souls would be free of all that suffering and anxiety that we feel here when we have to go back into the dark energy of earth. So they got a head start, you might say, on reality when they chose to go back to earth in a baby's body and grow up there in families that will come to be in this community because God said, I am going to put you ahead of the others you see, because you took the time when you were here in heaven to heal yourselves with Stephanie and others on earth who would talk to you. You took the time to heal while you were in heaven instead of stealing away and relaxing all day. Instead, you said to me, God, I want to be healed so that when I go back to earth, I will get a birth that will allow me to help others, you see, because it is a chain. It is a chain, you see, where everyone that agrees to shine their light on another will become part of the completed chain of humanity. And so the energy will flow as a trust on reality. Do you understand how electricity works? That if there were no willingness to shed an electron or two in the process of connecting with another, there would be no energy to light up your world in the way it does. And so, trust on shedding a little of your light on your neighbor, you see. And your neighbor can shed a little light on you and on his neighbor on the other side. And eventually, the world will be relit, you see, and all the dark energy will fade away. Thank you, Jesus. Thank you, Steph.